WatchHaus preview episode of the entire season. As always, I am your host, Shy Guy. I'm joined by Darby, Kate, and Ethan, three wonderfully talented writers over at the Game Haus, and we are going to be breaking down everything you need to know about the coming week in the Overwatch League, the last week where we've got multiple games on the schedule, and we've got a lot of big ones to talk about. We'll get into all of that in just a little while, but first, since this is WatchHaus, we've got to reset our watch. We've got to get everybody caught up on what we've been getting into over the past week, what we've got coming up. Plug ourselves a little bit here. So Darby, why don't you kick us off?
Sure. Luckily, everything interesting I did for the past week, besides hanging out with Ethan, who hopefully is actually there in the overlay, because I had nothing.
What up?
Happens anyway, anything else happened today. I just finished an hour ago interviewing Waro and Cocoa Pops from the 2016 Irish World Cup team, so whenever I'm done transcribing that thick 35-minute recording, that'll be up on the Celtic Wolves Hounds website, not on TGH, but I'll link to it on my Twitter. I've also potentially picked up a new beat with TGH. Decision pending by Rob. I will be writing for the Washington Justice from now on. Still love my Pink Boys, but I wanted to write for a team that will be a little bit closer to home once education hits. And that's about it.
Yeah, that's going to be a heck of a beat next year with 5 homestands for the Justice. Lots of opportunities for good content around that. I cannot wait to see. So fingers crossed that comes through. I really hope that happens. Kate, what about you?
Nothing too much. Did a breaking piece on Rivalcade Rumbles, because those are going to be coming a thing again during the off season, which I'm really
Oh, Kate.
excited about or Saturday, depending.
Kate back.
We lost you for a couple seconds there.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
My garbage. Where'd y'all lose me at?
Right after Rivalcade.
Okay, so after Rivalcade, I have my HSL interview coming out. I'm really excited. I got to talk with a couple of players from that team. I'm going to be starting kind of like a little preview the Gauntlet teams and contenders as they head their way to South Korea in October. And then I'm also going to be doing a lot of World Cup content that I've signed up for that I'm super excited about. So that's been my life.
Okay. Ethan?
Did y'all lose me again?
Nope, no, we're good.
So similar to Kate, I have signed up for some contenders and some World Cup content. Trying to throw myself back into writing because it has been a little bit since I've had actual regular articles. I've had a couple in the last month or almost 2 months, but in order to get back into regular articles, I'm trying to get on the schedule again. So hopefully I should get my first piece written this weekend. I also spent time with my wonderful Darby up at Ithaca College, New York, beautiful place. So yeah, that was kind of how most of my weekend went. Okay,
well, for me, I've too been trying to get back on the writing grind and geared up for Gauntlet and World Cup coverage as well. Going to be working on some preview stuff. Some very interesting stuff maybe coming with Atlanta Academy, potentially some interviews there that I'm very excited to get into in the next couple of weeks ahead of that event. But for this week, I kind of had some breaking news stuff with the Vancouver Titans. They announced their brand new director of business operations, Anthony Morocco, so had the breaking news there. And then today, part 1 of an interview I did with him came out, and tomorrow part 2 will be up on the Game Haus, so be sure to check that out. He was a really interesting guy to talk to. Really kind of cool background in terms of how he got into esports and has made his way up and now with the Vancouver Titans. So really interesting stuff there, and I'm very excited to see that finally coming out. I did the interview a month ago, and now finally getting to put it out feels really good. So very excited for that and to see what the reception is. But let's dive right into it, guys, because we have got a lot to talk about this week between the playoffs last week, games coming up this week. But first, we're going to tackle a little bit of the news that we've got coming our way. First, a couple of things that are coming out of the grand finals in a few weeks towards the end of September. We just got the announcement today, like a few hours ago, that Zed is going to be performing at the grand finals. No,
Finally.
Yeah. This has felt like something that is should have happened a long time ago.
You should have been last year's.
I mean, yes.
Sorry, DJ Khaled.
No, not sorry.
Not sorry.
But
the best.
yeah, I'm pumped for this. I mean, we're all gonna be in Philly. I assume he's probably performing on the day of the finals. That kind of makes the most sense. They already had previously announced Martin Garrix doing a pre-show, but very very excited to see real big time celebrities associated with the Overwatch League, and I'm very excited for what this could mean for the finals.
I totally agree. It feels like it's been a long time. And it's nice to sort of see them pick up people who have already been kind of associated with the Overwatch League, with how closely Zed and New York have been kind of associating themselves. It feels like it makes a lot of sense as a next step.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
And now there's a decent chance that New York will be at the finals. So that would be pretty exciting for him, I'm sure. But okay, the second.
Oh, wait, there was actually one thing I wanted to jump onto that as well. Bad Pachimari made a tweet about this before they'd officially announced Zed. He's apparently doing a concert in Texas the day before, so he's basically, and I think he didn't have anything scheduled on the 29th when BP was leaking the schedule, but that he's got something on the 31st somewhere completely different, and that he's in Texas on the 28th. So very interesting. I'm wondering when this was kind of put through, if they've known for a while and just released it now, or if it's this was kind of a Zed, hey, I want to do this, I can make time for it, kind of put me in there.
Yeah, so. That's the life of a touring musician. You're constantly going all over the place, and especially as someone as big as him is jetting around the world. So I'm glad that he could make some time in his busy schedule to throw a bone to the Overwatch League and really give us a good show. I'm very excited for it. The other thing that we've got, kind of related to the finals, is that on the week of the grand finals, I believe on the Wednesday before the finals start, in Philadelphia, the Fusion are going to be doing a groundbreaking on their new esports arena, which is really exciting. I mean, I think this is the first kind of arena that we've had being purpose built for the Overwatch League. So really excited to see that kind of coming to fruition and starting to happen. Not going to be up and running until I believe 2021, but awesome that they are already doing the groundwork right now.
Yeah,
I just still don't know why it's at 1:30 p.m. in the afternoon on a Wednesday.
It's a little weird.
It's a good question.
What if you wanted to go, but your boss said you have work?
Trying to dodge that Philly traffic.
Yeah.
Oh well, I mean it is what it is, but very exciting to see that kind of happening around the same time as the final. Should be very cool. Couple other little things of news. One that Kate already kind of mentioned is that the Rival Kid Rumbles are coming back. We've got some independent Tier 2, Tier 3 Overwatch tournaments happening for what feels like the first time in forever.
Yeah.
If there's any detail on the Rival Kid Rumbles, I actually don't really know much about it, so if anyone wants to fill me and anyone watching in.
Yeah. Well, Kate, you did the coverage on this, so this is all you.
Okay, so Rival Kid Rumbles, as Bradley said, they were kind of an independent kind of little organization that kind of ran tournaments they would be weekly, and then they kind of turned into monthly organizations. They would have huge prize pools of minimum $5K or whatever. And they're doing this again. I believe. Let me look at the dates.
It's next week. The first one is next week.
Next week. And that's the qualifiers. And that's going to be with a $500, I think it's $500, and then on the 22nd the Rumble itself will be happening, and that'll be for $5,000. And the most interesting thing about this to me is that any team from any region is invited to come compete, which I'm really, really excited about. But Yeah, this is the first Rivalcade Rumble since 2017, so it's been a really long time, and I'm really happy that they're back.
Yeah, I mean this is kind of a throwback to like an era of Overwatch when we had these like weekend tournaments that went off. I mean, if you think back to like the monthly melees, like way back when, and the Rivalcade tournaments as well. So I'm just incredibly excited to see, you know, a tournament organizer come back into the space after so long away. It tells me that they have at least some measure of faith that like Overwatch is somewhere they want to be going forward, and I think that's huge because let's be honest, like Contenders and Open Division doesn't really cut it in terms of like filling out the calendar of a tier 2 scene. It feels very sparse. Like in the off season, we are so kind of hungry for more competition, and this gives us something to kind of fill in the gaps, which is I think really needed.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, I've been casting tier 3 for a while now, so I'm interested to see what kind of teams wind up here, how many kind of Contenders teams we have in this versus tier 3 teams. It's going to be really interesting to me. I think the prize pool is big enough. I mean, as you said, $5,000 is not chump change by any means. That's big enough that you're going to get really good teams in this event, and it's going to be I think it'll be a good little tune up for teams, you know, potentially heading into Gauntlet. So very excited.
I think Maid said that Gladiators Legion is not going to be doing that. They're going to be focusing on Gauntlet, and that was one of the main complaints that I saw. It's like, oh, y'all are, you know, announcing this a week before it's happening. Like, there's not enough time to prepare for it. So, like, that's been kind of one of the minor complaints that I've seen about it. So it'll be interesting to see who exactly goes all in on this.
Yeah, for sure. We'll hopefully we'll continue to get these types of tournaments moving forward. So, you know, I don't think the intention is for this to kind of be a one-off thing. So we'll get more opportunities in kind of the off season to see more events like this, and that is only a good thing. Last little bit of news here before we move on to the kind of the meat and potatoes is another announcement that came down today. Opti, who was one of the coaches with the Toronto Defiant, is going to be leaving the team, is now looking for other opportunities. He was with Angry Titans before, I believe, in EU Contenders, and has had an excellent track record over his tenure as a coach, and really wasn't with Toronto all that long, but they have made quite a few coaching moves recently. I mean, Bishop leaving right before the end of the season, and now Opti, so they're kind of shaking things up, it seems like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really have any comments on it.
Yeah, Toronto's Toronto.
Yeah.
It's not that surprising that they've already started changes, but I'm not really sure Opti's Like, I'm not sure it's where I'd start, but I'm not even really sure if it was his choice or not. So
yeah, coaching is always kind of hard to for us on the outside to really have much of an opinion on, just because it's so kind of shrouded, and we don't really know exactly what coaches do in the Overwatch League or what any individual coach does. So kind of making judgments is basically impossible. But I hope he lands on his feet.
Yeah.
It feels like the Defiant are kind of doing what the Mayhem did season 1, which is like begin making these like really big changes at the end of the season, and then in season 2 it really didn't actually come to fruition until the very end. Toronto feel like they kind of started these changes and they're still making them, so I just think with stuff like this happening, I don't think we can really consider Toronto a very strong competitor in season 3 as well, even looking forward, unless something really big changes. They make a lot of pickups.
Mm-hmm. And the off season is fast approaching. Right at I think once grand finals ends, I think everything is kind of just going to explode in terms of pickups and players and coaches getting dropped.
Get ready for the 30th. We're going to be like driving home, and it's going to be, hey, look, 4 players just got dropped from my favorite team.
Y'all remember your favorite team?
Oh, the entirety of the Philadelphia Fusion is out.
Philadelphia Fusion is now just the old Florida Mayhem? What? They picked up Reinforced. What?
All right, so that's let's move. We'll move it along here. Oh my god. Okay.
He brought Eska in.
All right, let's. That's it for the news here today. So let's get back on track here a little bit, and talk about last week. We had an insane slate of playoff games last week. We had 8 really kind of, I would say, like, incredible matchups across the board for the most part. We had a couple kind of duds, towards in the lower bracket, I would say. But for the most part, I think it was really exciting, and we saw a lot of stuff that I don't think anyone really expected. It was a very chaotic week, given that we are in the playoffs. We're in a fairly new meta for all of these teams, and it produced quite a bit of chaos. So my question to you guys is this: what kind of stood out to you as the biggest surprise of week 1 of the playoffs?
New York's good, actually. I don't know. I feel ashamed that I have to say this now, because I don't remember if it was last week or the week before where I said New York is not a contender for anything past like the first few rounds, and now I'm sitting here like, maybe New York could, go to grand finals. I don't want to immediately hop on the train that I've seen a couple people on Twitter hop on, which is New York 4-2 to Atlanta, because Atlanta's not as good as we thought. I still think Atlanta's pretty scary, mostly because I feel like if I don't say that, they'll absolutely very, very sad. I think New York is looking a lot better than I thought they were going to. And I don't like saying that. I'm upset.
I mean, the thing is, like, that Atlanta-New York game was probably a little bit closer even than, like, the 4-2 scoreline would suggest. That very easily could have wound up going to 7 maps, or potentially even, swinging in the other direction with Atlanta getting that win. If a couple moments go the opposite direction, the first couple of maps that New York won were so tight that it's hard to. I don't think you can come out of that and really say anything bad about Atlanta. To me, the story is exactly what you said, Darby. I mean, New York is actually good again. I mean, they came in with like a really kind of novel take on the meta. Playing so much Bastion is something that really no other team is doing, at least as much as they are. And right now, it's working for them. They saw the shield meta coming, and they decided we're just going to break all of the shields. When every other team was kind of sticking to the Doomfist Reaper for the most part, they went outside the box, and it is proven super successful so far. I mean, it's going to be fascinating to see how teams kind of adapt to that now that they know it's coming. But so far, New York looks like they're back.
Dark horse, but here we are.
Kind of going off of that, because my biggest takeaway was kind of rip Atlanta. I was out seeing it during the Shock Atlanta game, but I went back and watched the VOD, and that was intense as anything. And they go from, yes, we beat the San Francisco Shock on the back of that god-awful C9. I felt so bad for Moth. And then they lose, and it's just kind of like, dang it. Like, they were there, so I'm kind of hoping this week they'll kind of be able to bring it back. I'm sorry, Darby. I love you, I promise. But that was my biggest takeaway, was just it was just unfortunate. Like Bradley said, a lot of minor misplays that it could have gone to map 7, as he said. I think it's a lot closer, and I think they're still a contender in the lower bracket.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you were Atlanta coming out of that San Francisco game, you thought you probably had winner's final in the bag. You thought that was yours, after beating one of the kind of consensus best teams in the league, and then getting to go up against New York, whose number you have had all season. We had those 2 wins in stage 2 where Atlanta came out of nowhere to beat New York and kind of hand them their first losses of the season. And I think they would have been supremely confident going into that. It's I'm going to be really interested to see how Atlanta responds coming into this week. I still have faith that they are going to be a contender, but they've got to kind of pick themselves up now, and that's maybe a little bit harder to do than just kind of riding that wave of confidence that they had after round one. Okay, for me, the biggest surprise was probably how flat London came out looking. After the play-in tournament, I was just kind of confident in both London and Seoul to come out and have pretty good weeks here, and to have a strong grasp of the meta. But London just completely fell apart. It was kind of bizarre, to be totally honest, the way that Birdring just disappeared without a trace, like no reason for him just being gone, no explanation whatsoever. Guard is there, and it didn't work for London for whatever reason, and they cruised by the entire season. I think anticipating that when it came time for playoffs, they were going to be able to just like flip the switch and be back to season one playoffs London and make that kind of run again. And this time it just didn't happen. This time it was London kind of flaming out, where NYXL came in and dominated them in that first game, and they couldn't even put up a fight in the lower bracket either. It was really disappointing for me, because I don't know. I always had faith in London, even through their kind of mediocrity this season, and they really were just not prepared. And it's really bizarre to me to see a team with that much talent just look so completely lost.
Well, wait a minute. Both the playing teams are already gone. I'm just like in the most like
not salty, but
possible.
Salty.
Like salty or won by Hangzhou, and that's it. Like, alright, cool. That we did all that.
My biggest surprise of last week, I was going to say that the NYXL are good as well. That was kind of a big surprise. But in order to keep this diverse and to not talk too much about it, biggest surprise was Twitter. Oh no, what happened there? A lot of very strong opinions, a lot of riled up community members for people who are at least like really involved in this industry. And it was kind of involving fans, it was involving players, it was involving talent team. And there was just a lot. There's a lot happening, and worst of all, Crook ate his girlfriend's mini rolls. That's probably the biggest travesty of the entire week.
Unforgivable.
Absolutely unforgivable.
Yeah, he ate 9 out of the 10.
I mean, come on.
They just bought him yesterday.
You don't need 9.
Cake is not a substitute. Anyway, no. I'm just hoping that with several more teams out, well, actually with 4 more teams out coming this weekend, we don't get more of this massive Twitter drama. Let players cry. Don't feel like you have to protect players. I don't know. I'm worried about what's going to happen at the end of this weekend with 4 more teams potentially losing, and one of them is almost certainly going to be either the Shock or the Reign. So imagining their fans on Twitter is probably not going to be a good time, because one of them is going to be losing this week.
Yes.
So
I mean, there's potential for some more meltdowns this week, and
yeah,
I'm a little scared, but
yeah, a little scared for that. At least after
Overwatch
grand
League.
Finals, I don't think that's going to happen.
At
Yeah.
Overwatch League, I have experience as a publicist that you're hiring.
Please hire Darby.
Someone let
New
Darby.
damage control.
Give me your Twitter password.
Yes.
Thank you later.
Someone let Darby stop the talent from tweeting terrible things. Just
Yeah.
that's it.
Come on, y'all. Y'all are kind of the faces. Just be a bit more professional.
Yeah.
We're not
That's all we're asking. We don't have to
We're
get
not
rid
in
of Bren's.
We're not in grassroots anymore. We got
Yeah.
sponsorships. Y'all can't just do whatever you want anymore.
Coca-Cola
Bren
is
go off,
behind you.
but
Don't
also-
speak for Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola died for this.
Don't ruin Coca-Cola's name like this.
Okay. Well, let's move past the drama a little bit. Let's put on a happy face and let's talk about what is going to be an absolutely bonkers week of games. We've got 5 matches on the docket this week. We're wrapping up the kind of the end of the playoffs. Everything except grand finals going down this weekend, and it is going to be absolutely insane. I mean, I think every one of these matches is going to be a banger. Like we're not going to have any duds this week. Like last week we had a few that kind of didn't live up to the hype, but I think we've narrowed it down to the point where like every team that's left is legitimately like a contender on some level. Even if some are kind of outside shots, I think everyone has a real shot from this point forward, and that's going to make for some incredible matches. So, I want to know what game are each of you guys kind of looking forward to the most this week?
I mean, I can just start by saying NYXL Vancouver. They're the 2 teams who have not lost in the playoffs yet. One of them is going to have to lose, and the other one basically gets a free pass after Friday to not have to do anything until grand finals. The other one has to basically fight only one more game, but fight for their survival in order to make it back. And it'll be a fight in the grand finals between a team that's lost and a team that hasn't. So whichever one of them wins this has a really huge advantage. I think that, I think it'll be insane. I haven't watched too much of the NYXL in the playoffs, but I'm a little curious as to what they are capable of. And then we have Vancouver like the dominant force all year. So
yeah, this one's going to be fascinating to me. I mean, it's like a real kind of clash of styles right now. Vancouver has very much kind of been the team to play the meta so far in the playoffs. They've really stuck with Reaper Doomfist. Outside, they have dabbled with the Bastion stuff at times, but for the most part, they are relying on Haksal and Somansu to really pop off on these DPS picks, the Reaper and the Doomfist. And, NYXL has gone kind of in the opposite direction. They're playing their own style, and how those 2 teams kind of match up is just going to be fascinating. I cannot wait for this. Like, I'm going to be losing my mind during this game. So beyond nervous for Vancouver. But this is what the entire season has kind of been building towards. We've got the number 1 and number 2 team, kind of. It depends what you want to say about San Francisco Shock, but in terms of the standings, we got the 2 division winners, the top team from last season, the top team from this season. I mean, what more could you ask for?
I guess I can go because this game's tonight. Gladiators versus San Francisco Shock, the battle for California. As a Gladiators fan, very nervous for this one. I think the Glads have a shot. I'm gonna probably jinx them. I am so scared to even talk about this one. San Francisco is gonna come back looking for blood because they did not want to be in the lower bracket at all. That C9 was the most unfortunate thing. And I don't know if y'all read Steph's interview with Moth, but Moth is a very scary, quiet boy, and he was like, we always bounce back, and that sounded more like a threat than anything. So tonight's going to be a really interesting game. The Gladiators, they've been looking fairly strong. Their game last week against the Vancouver Titans, I didn't really expect them to beat them, but they showed a lot of promise, and I think going up against the Shock, who are going to be a little bit rattled, but I think they have a good chance because Void Sigma has been looking really, really good, and he's been enabling hydration to just kind of pop off on Doomfist. I think it'll more kind of narrow down to Roar more than anything, but I'll talk about that later when we talk about our players to watch. But yeah, I'm excited for that one tonight.
Mm-hmm. Darby?
I'm kind of going out on a limb here because I have to assume that the losers bracket goes exactly the way I think it's going to go. I went with Atlanta, San Francisco, which they still have to, play the games and get to that stage first. But there was a time where I thought Atlanta, San Francisco was going to be grand finals. So I was really looking forward to that. So I guess now that I get it a little earlier than I anticipated, I'm really looking forward to seeing kind of similar to what Kate's saying. I don't think there were many people who thought San Francisco would be in the losing bracket this early. Both of these teams are really just going to be out for blood after the way it went last time. San Francisco is not going to want to lose this a second time, especially with how they lost it the first time. I think we're going to have two very, very angry teams who both want to move on to losers finals, so I'm looking forward to seeing it earlier than I expected to.
Yeah, and I think both of these teams are ones that kind of like feed off of the emotion of the moment. And that is just going to be kind of ramped up, turned all the way up to 11 for a game like this, with a spot in the losers final on the line. So I'm very much rooting for this rematch to happen. As you said, they both have to take care of business tonight. They've got to get through these lower bracket games and set that matchup up. But if they do, I think that one is potentially, one of the most exciting games of the weekend in a weekend that's just going to be packed to the brim with it. For me though, it's got to be and it doesn't matter whoever winds up in this game. It's got to be the lower bracket finals, like the last game of the playoffs before grand finals, the last chance for these teams to kind of prove themselves. We'll get into predictions and who we think is actually going to make it to that point a little bit later. But I think no matter who you wind up with there, you're going to have just insane storylines. I mean, I have my gut says we're going to see the San Francisco Shock there, but no matter who they play coming out of that upper bracket final would just be a titanic game. I mean, it's going to be unreal to see the emotion and kind of the intensity that goes into something like that, and the potential for like a real lower bracket run. To get back into the grand finals for whichever team makes it there is just such a good storyline that that is the game that I think is going to have the most kind of potential because of the stakes that you've got, like the elimination bracket, the spot on the grand finals. So like you've got the kind of opposite ends of the spectrum, like the pure elation of making it to the grand finals for one of these teams. Going home for the other is just going to produce insane results no matter who winds up there, and I absolutely can't wait. That's going to be phenomenal, and thank God we got the double elimination bracket this year. Like I think that's the best change that we got between season 1 and season 2 is that addition. It's already producing great storylines. Like imagine if San Francisco was already out of this right now, it would be terrible. But now they have a chance, and it's just going to be. I cannot wait. It's everything we've been waiting for. Okay, let's talk player to watch this week. Brought to you by Ethan's Upsetios and Meatballs.
I thought it was funny. There were upsets. It's Upsetios and Meatballs.
Okay. So
I like Ethan.
Thank you.
Everyone has picked a player to keep an eye out for this week, and there are so many good choices. But Ethan, since you got to name the segment this time, why don't you start us off here?
Sure, I might as well will. I didn't, like I said before, I didn't have the chance to watch the New York Excel very closely, but I did look through who was playing what match, and they subbed out Libero and Flower a bunch for each other, but they kept Sabiolbi in both matches that they've had so far, and both matches were pretty good for Sabiolbi. So that's my player to watch of the week. I didn't actually get to watch Sabiolbi play at all. That's why I just wanted to pick a New York player, but considering he will probably be in the entire game against the Vancouver Titans, you could probably expect that he needs to be the one putting up the best numbers. He did have consistently the highest amount of damage for every map that he played, and I think throughout both games, at least for the Atlanta one, he had the highest damage output of anyone on his team for all 6 maps. So he's clearly putting up numbers already. Will that be enough to play against Vancouver and actually beat them? That remains to be seen.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's been the guy, playing the Reaper and the Bastion for them. So, and that's kind of been their bread and butter so far. And as I think like the real leader of this team, he's going to be vital for sure. There's no question.
I'm just also glad that he's back and not on Sombra, because his Sombra was not very good. I'm sorry, but clearly this Reaper and this Bastion is working out for him.
Yeah, that Bastion hurt my feelings last week. I guess I can kind of go back to what I was talking about before. Sorry to cut it off weird there, but this was my whole point and argument for why Roar is my pick of the week. Basically, as I was saying before, they have Void, and as much as I love talking about Toes, I think the real focus here should be on the main tanks in this fight. Just because on the San Francisco Shock, they have been having Smurf mostly playing, and they have subbed in Super a few times, but Smurf's Orisa is a lot stronger than Roar's. I think he's just overall kind of got a better sense of how to work with Sigma, whereas Roar, especially in the game up against the Vancouver Titans, it just wasn't working. He just kind of looked out of position and kind of a bit lost. And so for me, that's going to be kind of what I'll be keeping an eye on, because I think if he manages to kind of, if this week he has managed to get kind of a better handle on the meta and is able to work a little bit better with Void, I think the Gladiators do have a really good shot of maybe taking down the Shock. And I think that's going to be the key right there.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, I'm going to be looking at the other side of that matchup, on the Shock side of things. And I am looking at our Season 2 MVP, Sinatra. He had been in and out of the lineup for the Shock during Stage 4, but now that Doomfist is back in the meta, he is finding ways to pop off once again, and really making a big impact for this team. I think figuring out how they are, continuing to kind of progress and get that cohesion back after, as you said, making some changes to their lineup. They've got Smurf in there as their main tank now. So getting that coordination, over the course of the last week, and kind of fixing some of their mistakes that cost them that game against Atlanta is going to be huge for them. And I think Sinatra is just going to be a huge part of that. Getting on the same page with Smurf in terms of the lining up those halt punch combos is going to be so vital for them. And we are getting down to kind of crunch time in the season. This is do or die. This is win or go home. And these are the moments where you need an MVP to step up big. So I think Sinatra has to be an MVP caliber player for them to come away with the win to make it to grand finals, which I think they have a very real shot of doing. But yeah, he's got to be the kind of the centerpiece for this team in my mind.
I'm going back to the other game that was talked about earlier, except I'm also going to the other side of that one. Now in the easy, which I guess is a good time to mention that our friend Connor wrote a pretty good piece about why Bumper is no longer playing for the Titans, or at least he explained a little bit. So it's not really about Bumper, it's about how our boy TZ stepped up in a major way and has done pretty well so far in his playoffs run. So I would like to see him keep doing that, I think.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
happy he's back. I'm excited. I love TZ.
Yeah.
Really
I'm happy he's here.
I'm happy he made it.
Final, it's it's been in the works for so long. I wrote the piece announcing his signing months before it happened, or before it got announced, and then his visa issues, it wasn't even clear if he was gonna be here for playoffs in the first place. They finally got him in after Stage 4, and to see him come in and seamlessly just slip in back into his role on this team like he never left, playing with the Runaway Boys, I love it. There's something special about this group of players, and they're they feel like a family even after they have left Runaway, and it's cool to see that coming to fruition now with them being able to insert a new player, or a new player back into the lineup and just instantly click immediately. It's really, really cool to see.
never know that he's like only just now started playing, at least for this season. It's just like he belonged there.
Mhm.
Haxel's a rookie, by the way.
Like rookie of the year.
Don't even get me started. Okay. All right. Let's talk predictions, guys. We've got 5 games on the board this week. Let's start with the lower bracket games going down tonight. First on the docket, Atlanta versus Hangzhou. I think this is going to be kind of fascinating in terms of how these teams adapt. Okay, Darby, you have no faith in your team. That's fine. I'm still scared of them because they looked better than I expected last week. I mean, I thought they were going home last week, straight up. I thought they were going to lose both their games, but they managed to get the win in the lower bracket, and that, I think, makes them very scary, because this is a team that just consistently over the course of the season has just like powered up and powered up and powered up. Every time they get a little bit more comfortable with the meta, like they become really scary, and I don't know that, you know, the 3 weeks that they've had with this meta is going to be enough for that, but I'm still very, very concerned about them, and I think they are. If there's a dark horse like left in the group of 6 that we have, it's the Hangzhou Spark.
I thought you were gonna end that by saying you still picked Atlanta.
I do still pick Atlanta. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm picking Atlanta. They beat San Francisco. They looked phenomenal last week. I think they might have the best Sigma in the entire league right now with Gator. So like, I'm picking them, but I don't think this is kind of one-sided in any way.
I also went with Atlanta, but with the caveat that I'll get to, because it's the spicy take with which I want to end this. Atlanta's just still, even if they're in the lose bracket, it's just still a team that's so hard for me to bet against, just with how well they've been performing. Hangzhou has kind of shaken my faith a little bit, if that wasn't obvious. It seems like they're kind of finding their footing. I'm still worried it'll be a little too late, although I do have some faith after how handily they beat Seoul. I will say this, and you can quote me when it inevitably happens, because I'm always right. If Hangzhou can beat Atlanta, they will go to grand finals.
Woo!
That is a take.
I like
If they beat
it.
Atlanta, they can make it through the rest of the bracket. I don't think they'll do it. But if they-
Darby's a witch. I'm scared. Y'all don't understand.
I can make grand finals, is I think.
Now
I
that's
still went with Atlanta, but I think if they can beat it, then I'm gonna throw the rest of it out the window and say they make it all the way.
I like it.
Yeah. You're usually right. That's why I'm scared now.
I don't know. She's not #1 in predictions anymore, so.
Well, Sam is powerful.
Sam is almighty in no way.
Sam
Hey,
is why.
But he also
and
Atlanta,
and,
so.
and Ethan is coming for you this week. You guys are tied. You guys are tied right now. It's and this one's gonna be pretty important. And you know, Ethan, tell us why.
Yeah. So I picked Hangzhou to win. I'm the only one here who did pick Hangzhou to win. Jeez, I lost my train of thought entirely. I just think it'll be fun if they win. I didn't even hear what you said, Darby. That's the thing. I just know the vein of what you said. I just think it'd be fun if Hangzhou won. That's kind of my thing. I need to get ahead in predictions if I actually want to win this, which I'm not gonna, because there's no way to physically beat Sam at this point. But, you know, I'm going for that second place, and I need to make risks. And I like Hangzhou. I want them to do well. I fully disagree with Darby. I think that they will lose to the San Francisco Shock right afterwards. But I like them, and they played well against the Gladiators and against the Dynasty. Even though they lost to the Gladiators, they played well, much better than I actually expected them to. And they really kind of crushed Seoul, who crushed my team. So yeah, we love Hangzhou. Woo!
You can't be mean like that. Jae-hong
They're
cried.
good boys.
Yeah, I'm allowed to say I'm glad Hangzhou won without also bullying Jae-hong for crying. Those are two separate things. You can be
But
sad
we can't be
Jae-hong
mean to them
cried.
anymore.
That's not what that means. Seoul finished 8th for the second year in a row. Fun fact.
No bully.
No bully.
Just say your pick, Kate.
I Atlanta.
Okay,
I like Masa and Gator.
they're good.
They're good.
We're really just out of analysis for this season.
Yeah, it's literally Gator. My only concern is that Dogman is sick.
That's
Oh,
true.
yeah.
That's my only concern right now.
Kodak
And
is in Germany.
Kodak is in Germany.
Is that Kodak's music?
Instagrams.
Kodak's
So-
over here.
Just play Funny Astro.
Don't even joke. Yeah, that's a little concerning. Unclear, how sick he is, but
They quarantined him in the other room, but I think that's just because last time he was sick, he got everyone
that's
sick.
true.
So.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm looking forward to the Dogman flu game. It's gonna be dope.
That's Hangzhou's like they've been masterminding this flu virus for weeks now just to infiltrate Atlanta and put it in.
some
Super does
some
have a-
bio warfare.
IDK went over to visit and he's just like, chew. And then the left is like,
That's why they
boom,
brought.
this
That's
is
why
why
they
we
brought
win.
No Smite back to get him really, really sick. Like, all right, No Smite, this is what you're here for.
That
Crystal's been developing a bioweapon this whole time. It's a he sent it back. He's just like, listen, I'll take one for the team. I'll make it look like I'm doing wrong, but I'm on a secret mission.
that's some galaxy brain shit right there.
WatchHaus conspiracy.
Need to get tinfoil hats.
All right. I guess we might kind of need some conspiracy theories if there's any chance of this next game going against what we all think. Of course, it's the San Francisco Shock and the LA Gladiators going head to head tonight, and it seems that we are all in agreement here that it's going to be San Francisco. But I do want to kind of commend the Gladiators. I think they put up a really good showing last week. They're just getting the kind of fortunate draw a little bit of like maybe going against the best two teams back to back in the playoffs. Like going down to Vancouver last week, now having to deal with San Francisco in the lower bracket. It's just kind of brutal for them, and we're getting to the point where I just don't know that they have quite enough left in the tank. Who knows? They always pull out kind of weird stuff and like niche strategies, and I think that's how they have a chance in this series. But if we're just talking straight up, like I don't really see San Francisco losing again and going out kind of meekly here.
Moth to mad power.
Angry Moth.
Angry moth power, that's it. I didn't get to see the oh sorry.
I was just gonna say I didn't pick them because I love them, and I'm hoping that will counteract it and then win. That's my whole contribution.
They did make really, really good points about why they have a chance. I don't think this will be one-sided by any means.
No.
The Gladiators have been looking pretty super-powered. It's
They crushed
Atlanta
them.
part 2. I just don't want to bet against this Shock because I'm not stupid. Oh no.
Yeah.
This is my one time I'm going with the safe pick.
Yeah.
Like literally. Bren, please don't pick them. It's all he does that to me every time.
Okay, I don't think we have a whole lot more to add there. Let's move on to the upper bracket finals. This is the big one here for the first two nights. Vancouver NYXL. We talked about it earlier on a little bit, but this is going to be absolutely insane. Like the difference in the way these two teams approach the meta is really gonna be fascinating. And I want to see how Vancouver like brings to the table to kind of respond to all of the bastion that NYXL is bringing. It's I don't know. I really don't know because we haven't we still don't have a ton of like game tape on either of these teams. There's a lot of chance for adaptation in the week leading up to this. So I think this could go either way. I am still leaning towards Vancouver because my God, this team is just like they're clutch and they have been there before. They don't ever kind of buckle under pressure. And yes, New York looked good last week, but I don't know. I'm not 100% sold yet. I think they are still like a fantastic team and they have found a style that works wonderfully for them. But I think Vancouver's gonna be able to kind of come in with answers to that.
Bradley just basically said exactly what I was going to say. So, I mean, it's hard to argue against the team who can just like bring in a brand new player for playoffs and have it feel like he's been playing with them all season. It's just hard to imagine that. It's hard to imagine that New York can trip them up, which I really think is their single win condition, if they can get them to stumble. But I also think it'll be really close.
Yeah, I definitely think this game is going to go I would say at least 6 maps, if not 7 here. I think there's a very real possibility that these are just the 2 best teams, and I mean they made it to the winners final for a reason. We could easily see this match again in the grand finals. So it's really hard to pick this.
I am the lone NYXL picker here, and I don't have logic. I have the fact that I don't want to see a Vancouver-San Francisco Shock Grand Final, and that's the only way to ensure that is if New York wins this, then we won't have that. So,
but why would that be such a bad thing?
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Just because here's my thing. I've been
we've
seeing that
seen
a lot.
it a bunch.
Right, but that was with goats. This is a completely new thing.
And also,
valid.
And also like
both teams deserve to be there. Like, this is one of the things that I have an issue with plans. It's like teams that have been so dominant all season. You know, if they lose and they get out, it's like the whole season was just kind of a waste. You know, I don't think it would be as terrible as a lot of people would think it would be, because they're like, we've seen it before. We've seen it before. Yes, we've seen it before, but we were all in that call together during the first stage 1 final. That was the most intense crap we have ever seen in Overwatch League, and it was exciting. And you guys don't think it'll be like that exciting?
I am with you, Kate. I'm with you. Like I want that. That is what I want to happen more than anything.
Sorry, Ethan.
But like I don't know. I think the narrative that has built up over the course of the season between those 2 teams, like being consistently the best teams that we've had during season 2, and to get that in the grand finals, that's kind of what I want. Like, as fun as last year was when we got the randomness of like Philly and London, it was like it felt kind of underwhelming. Like we didn't get the best teams at the end of the day, and I don't know. That's just kind of what I want as a fan. I want to see the 2 best teams going at it, and you know, if those aren't the 2 best teams, let's go out this week and let's prove that. Let's have New York win this game, and if they do that, so be it. But I'm definitely not like rooting against that rematch.
That's a good point. That at least if we get San Francisco, Vancouver again, it will kind of, you can guarantee it won't fizzle out the way the Philly London finals kind of did.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting that either way.
This season, the playoffs teams or whatever, these guys all have a good chance to bring us good Overwatch. Last year was a fluke for both teams.
It was a fluke for the entire playoffs. Everything was so one-sided leading up to it. There was only 1 3-2. The rest of it was 3-0s or 3-1s.
Yeah, like, it's just... Regardless, even if we don't get the Vancouver-San Francisco Shock match, like, we're still going to get good Overwatch. So I can see the point of, like, you know, if it's Atlanta, if it's, you know, NYXL, like, it's going to be good Overwatch. But I think it's just... New York, like, Gladiators, you know, I don't even know. NYXL, I don't know. But it's just like, we're going to get good Overwatch no matter what. And so it's kind of frustrating for me just to be like, oh, well, you know, this narrative would be boring. But it's also like, the Shock have made, like, so many strides to become this great team. Because honestly, last year, I couldn't even remember half the players. Going in, I was like, who's still here? Okay.
Nomi and Dak.
Yeah, like, okay, sure. And they've come such a long way. And then you have Vancouver, Runaway. Like, you know, they've come so far, and it would be such a good ending if they made it all the way to the finals. And those are storylines that I love and I crave. So I'm pushing for it.
I will counterbalance that, though. NYXL Atlanta storyline, that would also be extremely valid.
I would like to see that at finals, yes.
Yeah, I don't know why Atlanta's pushing to be Philly's rival when they've got rival the Shock, NYXL. Like, why do you want my team?
Atlanta has something to prove against the NYXL, who just now beat them after, you know, Atlanta was the New York's kryptonite. So that could be another very.
Kate, it's because they are Philly.
Never beat Philly, but to like them slightly. Don't start this with me.
Oh no, she's developing feelings.
No.
All right.
One idiot, and then the whole team arrives.
All right, watch point starts in 5 minutes, so let's quickly run through the last couple games. We don't know exactly what we're going to see in either the lower bracket semis or the lower bracket finals. But we have which is like Kate went out on a limb here. She has confidence in the Atlanta Reign, and I gotta say, Kate, I'm loving your picks because you have picked maybe my dream grand finals as an Overwatch League fan, the Vancouver Titans and the Atlanta Reign. Both of my favorite teams. I'm not shy about this.
Can't lose.
It would be phenomenal.
I'd be happy.
I would love it. It would be great. Both of the teams that I covered this year, I would love it. But so tell me, what makes you think Atlanta, has the goods to take down San Francisco, and then whoever comes away from that upper bracket final?
Because they're like Philly and full of surprises.
Yay! She admitted it. Okay.
I need a shot.
And then the rest of us all think San Francisco's going to blow through the competition.
Yeah, I don't know. I think once they've already started getting rolling through this lower bracket run, and if they get through these next, at least the first game, once they build up that momentum, I think this team is going to be hard to stop, no matter who they go up against. And I just have faith in them. They have proven over the course of the season that they always bounce back from any kind of losses. No matter how unexpected they might be, they never stay down for very long, and I think they have the right mentality to come and make kind of this lower bracket run and really, because it would feel, I don't know, a little bit weird for them not to be there, at least to the losers final in my mind.
I just think the Golden Stage team won't get out that easily. Team that went 28 rounds without dropping a map.
Yeah, it's gonna be insane. This is, I think, probably the best week of Overwatch. Fingers crossed, the best week of Overwatch we'll ever have. It's all these teams are disgusting right now, and I don't know. Overwatch League is really fun at the moment. I'm so happy.
Saved us. We produced and saved us.
Who'da thunk it?
When are we getting Junkrat meta?
Oh.
If they keep Jake on the Outlaws, that'll be Houston's year.
Finally.
Sure.
That's what we said last time.
Yeah.
Finally, it's Houston's meta.
We've said it for the last 7 meta since we've said it's Houston's meta.
You say it long enough, it has to be true.
Okay.
It was season 1, stage 1, and that was it.
I can't believe Toes is just what we needed to make this entire thing so great.
Thank you all so much for joining us. It has been an incredible episode. It's been an incredible season. I'm not sure if we'll be back for another one after this. We'll try to. I think we'll do a pre-grand finals episode at some point. Keep an eye out for that. But thank you all for joining us, for everyone here, for Kate, for Darby, for Ethan. I have been your host, Shy Guy. From our house to yours, thanks for watching.